And to have that many people at once, I can't blame them too bad, because that must have really sucked. You know,
either that or you're at the hecklers convention.
Yeah. Well, you got to understand, when you go across that border up there,
yeah,
it's a different world. And people, you know, if they've never been there, you know, what's that?
It's America's hat.
Well,
That's
for
what I
one
call
thing,
Canada. America's hat.
Oh, okay. No, it's just the humor is different. You know, they had, you know, I saw some of their Canadian comedians that were going up in front of, and try to say that real quick, Canadian comedians. They would go up front, you know, and they did jokes, and I was going, I don't understand why that's funny. Well, it was relative to what was going on in Canada, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And the other thing is, I would make mistakes like that. I would say something like, you know, back in America.
Yeah, I'm sure they love that.
Don't ask me. We're in America still. We're in North America. You know.
Yeah, but each one of your jokes is worth 1.25 of theirs. So there's probably a jealousy factor going on there too. You gotta.
Well, back then it was worth that much. I think it's reversed now. The exchange rate is a little lower.
Worth more. I mean, you know, I think I actually get 2 extra laughs if I go up there and tell a joke now. I believe. You're right, though. I mean, the exchange factor on the humor was terrible, you know. And the pay was even worse. Oh, man. Good God. But the weed was really good.
Oh, boy.
They gave me a little Christmas tree. It was great, man.
Wow.
But anyway.
Now, you've been doing this, I think you said 18 years?
Yeah. Yeah, it's approaching the 20-year mark. Pretty quick now.
Now looking back,
how's your 401k doing on the comedian circuit?
My 401k already smoked. So.
Now looking back, are you glad that you went with this and not some other career?
Oh my God! You know, there's some days that I definitely am not. I'm like, why didn't I blah blah blah? And then, well, one thing once you get on stage, that totally goes out of my mind.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like. I feel at home when I'm on. I mean, there was a while there I didn't feel any comfortable anywhere but on stage. It was like that was the place for me. Still is, but.
Now, what made you decide to become a comedian?
Probably a lack of direction, to be honest with you.
I'd say the inability to wake up on time for any job. That's what was pushing me towards this online gig, this online computer thing.
Well, you know, you'd be surprised, Lenny. I've known comics that can't make it to the 8 o'clock show, much less 9 o'clock in the morning. But, no, I think it was a combination of, I was in the Air Force before I went on to become a comedian. I did a lot of stuff, but I'd always written.
Right.
Crazy stuff from the time I was like 13. And then I kind of teased myself with going up and doing some little pieces of comedy on stage here and there, not really knowing that I was building up towards being a comedian. So I'd do stuff with the Air Force, you know, the Christmas parties or whatever. I'd write some crazy skit and they'd want me to do it, and I'd say, okay. And just everywhere I went, for some reason, even though I wasn't typically the class clown, I always was in the background making jokes or writing them down, and I would always have the people push me to the front and go, hey, you get in front of everybody. And I always wanted it. I didn't tell them that, but when they said it, I'd go, yeah, I'll do it. And so when
it's
I
just
started doing it,
it's kind of like a natural. It was kind of a natural thing. It was natural progression. Yeah.
It's exactly what it is. It was like it was meant to be, you know. But first of all, once you get that natural stuff, the development of the talent is the second thing you got to work on, and the writing and all that. And then I don't have an agent or anything, so I have to do everything myself, you know, as far as booking and all that. So you got to turn into a businessman too at some point. And that didn't happen to me till later on in my career, unfortunately. I guess if I'd have been this driven towards the business side of it 15 years ago, I'd be way further ahead than I am right now. But that's just not the way it works.
Now,
hey, Brian,
go ahead, Lenny.
Who would you say your main influences are?
What's that?
Who would you say your influences are?
Oh, my influence. George Carlin, was a big influence just because the way he writes in chunks. You know what I mean? It's not like when he does a joke. Most of the time, it's not just a 1 minute bit or a 2 minute bit. He takes something and just goes as far as he can with it sometimes. You know?
Right. It feels very stream of consciousness, kind of.
Exactly.
It feels like very, very organic, very like, this is what I'm thinking right at this moment, kind of thing. That's what I like about.
Yeah, I like whenever you can take it and make it in that moment, you know, and people. That's one of the secrets of acting or anything else, is making it seem like it's right then, you know, in the moment. And he was wonderful at that. Him and Cosby was very good at that. Richard Pryor, anybody that really made a huge back, I would say in the 70s, maybe early 80s, I would say most of those guys were big influencers. And then at some point, I kind of it lost me. Comedians, there's some still, you know, that I like and everything, but once it got too commercial, I guess it kind of became cookie cutter comics. You know, it's almost the same. You know, it's just they had to have a different look. As long as they had a look, they were makeup. You know, and that's just kind of that makes you sick. But like Last Comic Standing, you know, I tried out the first season and didn't even get. I don't even think I did 20 seconds before they went, thanks.
Oh, wow.
You know?
Really?
Oh,
wow.
yeah.
So,
and then there was some girl behind me, some black girl, pretty, but she could jump in the air and make her face and do a little yeah or something, and so they passed her on to the next round. She wasn't a comic. She had nothing to do. But that's when you're going, this ain't for comedy. This is for, you
TV.
know, we're gonna put a product out for the American public here. You know, it's like the Monkees, except it's a comedy. You know,
well, you know, the best part of American Idol is the people that can't sing, watching them. That's the fun part. So, I mean, they gotta have some funny people and some people that are gonna be good television.
Yeah.
Those guys. Go ahead.
Oh, I just watched. I watched that Bill Hicks movie, American Comedian. Did you see that, or is it just a?
No, I didn't know they made a movie out of it.
Oh yeah, it's really. I think it just came out within the past year or two.
Okay.
It's really interesting. It kind of talks about you know, kind of what you were speaking to, the you know, the natural progression, how you know, kind of a class clown, everybody's waiting for you know, your rebuttal, you know, to what somebody else, you know, the teacher says or whatever, and how he just kind of it just turned into him being into a comedian. And when you were talking about that, it kind of reminded me of the scenes in that movie, in the documentary, which I definitely recommend you want everybody seeing it. I think it's just called Bill Hicks American. I don't think it has a comedian in it, because I guess later on he got more political, more, you know, his more thoughts about politics and how America is, and he's very, you know, he's from the South, he's from Texas, Austin area, and how living in the Bible Belt, you know, influenced him or pushed him in a certain direction. And it just kind of reminded me, the way you were talking kind of parallels that, you know, if you take some, it's on Netflix, that's where I saw it. So yeah, and I really liked it, and I always like the Arizona Bay, his whole thoughts on you know, the fault line out there in California, and I guess that's the name of one of his albums is Arizona Bay. So
well,
I just go ahead.
I think the same thing happened with Carlin too, a little bit, that once he got to a certain level, he started getting political, and it wasn't funny, you know.
Right. Yeah. People would think that you're mean, you're this, you're that, you know, and whatever.
Do you have certain things, Brian, that you try to avoid just for that reason? Certain topics.
I don't talk a lot about religion. Not for any particular reason, just because I guess I'm a believer, and I don't. But at the same time, I don't see a thing about knocking somebody else, you know, religious-wise. I think religious is just too personal to really tackle for me. It's maybe later on. What I think when you don't have adversity, then you can start tackling those topics. But
right.
As long as have all kinds of problems, I'll probably zero in on them. Politics is another thing that I don't really touch too much because unless you walk into a Republican convention or a Democratic convention,
yeah,
you're in a normal room,
you're gonna make half the people be angry. Yeah,
you're gonna piss half the people off.
Especially now with the election coming up, people are so upset. Either for one guy or for the other guy, and they're really divided. It seems more so now than I think ever, as I remember it.
I think you're right. I saw you weren't there the second show, which was good because there was only about 14 people.
Oh boy!
But in that room, it kind of looked a little crowded. Anyway, Jerry did some bits that you didn't see. I did some stuff you didn't see either. But he brought up a picture of him and Barack Obama, and he went into and there was a good Barack Obama and him picture and the whole thing, and there really wasn't too much of a joke to it, and he was just saying how he's going to vote for Barack again, and even with the room being almost half black and half white, it still just laid there, and I could feel the tension in the room, and I was going.
Part of the humor with Jerry was if you have to kind of see him, Lenny. He looks like he's almost The Walking Dead. He looks so old. He's got white hair, and his hair is sticking up everywhere. He's totally unkept, and he's wearing like an old sweatshirt. But just he kind of plays with his act the way he talks, and it's pretty funny to see him. So a picture with him and Barack Obama would.
Well, you talk about a stream of consciousness. That guy, you can't tell where the joke.
No, I could. There was something he would say something, and I didn't know if he was serious or if it was a joke.
Jeez.
He's great. I mean, I love it because it just cracks me up. Because especially when people are just sitting there looking at him, I'm just dying. I'm going, you idiots! The whole damn thing's an act. What are y'all doing? Why would you think? I think I said it the other night. Maybe you weren't. I can't remember what show it was. I think I said something about, y'all think this is a damn one-man play or something, or this is comedy. But and that's what happens sometimes. Unfortunately, people come into a comedy show, and if you're not exactly what they think, a comedian should do, or you don't present it the way they're used to having comedy presented, it can throw them off a little bit. And you're going, that's a damn joke I just told y'all. Because people are going, is that, like you said, is he for real? No, you came into a comedy club. You didn't come into a for real club. You know where you're at?
Oh, yeah. So do you play, you live down in Charleston, South Carolina, right?
Yeah.
Do you play clubs there frequently?
Yeah, well, as much as I can because gas prices.
Well, the reason I ask is about your audience. Do you have to? How often do you have to change up your material? Because I'm assuming you get a lot of the same audience members back in the club from week to week.
Well, recently I did all the clubs that are here just about, and I headlined them, so I did 45 to an hour. Then something happened. A comic had an emergency or whatever, and so the guy that booked it called me. He goes, "Look, I'm used all my other guys up. Can you just come out? I know you're a headliner." Blah blah. I said, "Yeah, sure, I'll come out." And one show was almost totally improv, and these people had seen me before. Some of them had, and actually, this was the third time they'd seen me. But I don't know why, and I don't know how it worked out. But for some reason, I went off the cuff for about at least 20 out of 30 minutes was nothing but pulling stuff out of the air.
Wow.
Nice.
Rather than another place I could pull it from.
Now, are you able to remember that stuff? The stuff that really works well. Are you able to remember that and use it again?
Yeah. Sometimes that's the tough thing is when you're like Lenny said, stream of consciousness. When all of a sudden you're just coming up with stuff. And then sitting there going, man, I got to remember this. Actually, there's a bit that my dad, and I forgot to do it. I got to write it down. About him recently, he had a problem with he calls it his penile, I think we know what that is
okay.
Manly area.